Hey guys, Gaddock Teeg here, and this is the SWTOR Weekly Digest for March 29th, 2013. There's really nothing to talk about this week, so I guess you should just move along. Okay, seriously though, we've got so much to discuss, let's cut the chatter and check out the Gold Post summary. There was an information blowout this week regarding the Rise of the Hutt Cartel digital expansion. First, we now know that Rise will officially release April 14th, and all players who pre-ordered the expansion before January 7th will receive 5 days early access, allowing them to visit the planet McCab on April 9th. Simultaneously, patch 2.0 will be deployed to all players on April 9th, so even if you're not an early adopter, you will have something to play with. On top of this announcement, the Bioware devs were giving meaty interviews to several fan sites around the web. There are a lot of questions from all over the place, so I'm just going to choose one question from each interview that I found unique and interesting to focus on. If you would like to read the full interviews, and I suggest you do, you can find a link to each one of them in the show notes below. This one really isn't a question per se, but lead designer Brian Audette revealed that there will be an 8th new operations boss available in the expansion. More exciting still, this will be the game's first official lair boss. From what I can gather, lair bosses will be similar to the Xenoanalyst event boss. I love me some Xenoanalysts, so I'm happy to hear that we'll be getting something similar soon. Full disclosure, I hate world bosses, but they are great ways to get people out of the main hubs and into the world. I think it will be a nice change of pace traveling in the world without having to deal with respawn timers and griefing. It looks like PvP will continue to take its good news with bad. The good news is that Bioware acknowledges that ranked war zones are currently broken, and that there are not enough people playing them. I think at this point raideds need to go cross-server to increase player participation. This, along with the launch of Season 1 and a global ranking system similar to League of Legends, will go a long way towards drumming up interest in ranked PvP. I just hope Bioware figures something out quickly before they lose what is left of the PvP community. If you've seen my coverage of the new gear sets in the PTS, you know how laughably ugly I find most of them. Cyclops Bounty Hunter and Hammerhead Shark Sorcerer are far from what I would call inspired by classic Star Wars, but hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I personally would prefer more toned down gear in future tier sets, but that might just be me. This question here is probably the most alarming to me. It really feels like Bioware is going hard company line. As far as I can tell, the only difference in story for each class will be the cutscenes, and you'll have to perform the same actions over and over in each tune. I would love to be proven wrong on this, but I get the feeling that Bioware is just trying to dance around the question. Bioware, you need to come out and say, yes, it's mainly just dialogue choices. Stop propping up the players for a letdown. That is a bad move, and you've done it in the past. I don't see why you keep doing it. Players get pissed every time, and it never works out. Just come out and be very straightforward. We're not dumb people. We're players of games, and we like your game. Just tell us what you're giving us, not what you want to believe you're giving us. So that's what struck me most from each interview. There's also an interview up on Mad Sith Assassin focusing on the Shadow Assassin advanced classes. I'm not going to go in depth here since I know very little about them, but it's a great read nonetheless. There's also a ton of information on the expansion on all these sites, so if you want to know more about the secret droids or the macro binoculars, check out the great articles these guys are posting regarding their experience in the closed beta. And hey Bioware, I'd love to do an interview sometime, just call me. Tuesday, Bioware released another dev blog about Rise of the Hutt Cartel, this time focusing on the planet Darvanis and the new Scum and Villainy operation. The post gives a little backstory to the planet, as well as sets up a few encounters that players will be expected to tackle. It's a very fast read, so if you're a fan of PvE or you can't get enough information about the expansion, head over to the mothership and take a look at this one. Also Tuesday, Bioware released patch 1.7.3, which I will lovingly refer to as the Ready Check patch. You can probably guess what my favorite part from this patch was, but there was also the Heartless Pursuer's armor set added to the cartel market, as you can see my character modeling here. On a more bittersweet note, Bioware has finally decided that the best course of action in dealing with the very low populations of the Asian Pacific servers was to merge them into the Western servers. I know this rubbed a lot of players the wrong way, just like the initial server migrations, but this was probably the best course of action in this situation. I know the Asia Pacific folks have the added baggage of latency to deal with, but the alternative of merging all the APAC servers together would not solve the root problem as stated by Eric Musco in the follow-up post. I get the feeling the Old Republic never really took hold in the East, but hopefully the faster queue times and active communities can make up for all the lag. This next post to the forums, made by Austin Peckinpah, is very near and dear to my heart, as the first character I leveled for PvP was my DPS Commando, and I'm happy to see some drastic changes to their design. Allowing a gunnery Mando to work at near maximum potential after one grav round is a godsend. Now all of that is well and good, but the comments made by Austin in this follow-up post really worry me. While it's true that class balance in MMOs is an infinite iteration process, it is scary to hear that the McKeb release date was far beyond the control of his senior game designer. One thing I always commended WoW on was its done when it's done philosophy. If the designers are not 100% confident in what they're producing, you're setting yourself up for failure. The deadline for Rise of the Hutt Cartel is a self-imposed one, and I personally didn't expect to see it until way late in May. If the BioWare devs are not the ones calling the shots when it comes to these things, I'm afraid for the future of the game. Maybe I'm just taking these quotes out of context though. Boy, do I hope I am. Finally, for a long time players have asked why there is no deserter debuff, preventing players from finding a new group after quitting a war zone early. Rob Hinkle believes that this sort of lever deterrent unjustly punishes players who disconnect during matches. I tend to agree, since the backfilling system works relatively well, especially during high population times. On a similar subject though, I feel the vote kick system needs some promotion. I know the developers want to avoid kick griefing, but I've never seen a person get vote kicked from Warzone, even if they were clearly AFK. There needs to be a more visual reorientation of the vote kick system so players know what is going on and why a person deserves to be kicked from the group. Whew, and that's all the headlines from this week. As always, if you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe so you're not missing any SWTOR video coverage. Until next week, this is Gaddock Teeg signing off.